That doesn't mean that I'm sharing it. There's some particular people that couldn't make it today, and I promised that I would send them the recording afterwards. If they promised me, they wouldn't be sharing it around, and that's why I do it. So thank you so much for letting me record. Okay. So everybody knows how to unmute and mute themselves. You know, I see you with black hair and yes, but I don't see your name for some reason. Do you? Oh, Beth, there you go. I'm glad, Beth. Okay, it's you. Um,
It's strange when I mute it.
it's one of the benefits of being on Zoom is that you know people's names, you can read them, you know, it's like wearing a name tag. So let me just scroll to the side. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. So today we're going to focus on a ritual called TASHLICH. And TASHLICH as one of the many moments during the Rosh Hashanah holidays. But before we jump into Tashlich and some practices around it, I would like to ask you, as I asked you before, how you're doing. But I want to invite you to respond to me this way. I want you to take a white piece of paper and a marker. I can wait for you. Great. And I would like to invite you to draw on that paper the way you are feeling today, the way you're doing today, but according to the weather. So draw something that represents a weather or something in the weather that represents the way you're feeling at this moment. And we're going to put it up and look around and see how we are all doing. Try not to think that much, but to feel that much. I see you drawing. I look around while you're drawing because I pre-drew and putting your names and your faces together. I see Amy Ehrlich and Rivka and Rebecca and Shira. Wonderful. Do you have it? Okay, so at the count of 3, we're going to put it up, but don't cover your face so we can see what the weather is like all over the world, okay? Look around. Wow. Wow. Wow, some clouds. There's sun in many of it. There are lots of clouds. There's like, what is that, Shira? Thunderstorms, kind of?
It's I tried to capture like looking up to the sky through trees.
Oh, that's so nice. So nice. I don't see Carol. Oh, it's a sun. Okay, beautiful. Beautiful. Great. Thank you so much.
I didn't have a yellow crayon, so it's a red sun, but it's very hot sun.
What?
It's a very hot sun, so
Yeah.
it's red.
I see. Okay, great. So maybe you want to keep it and date it and, use it as a reference for engaging your families and people. Last week they asked me, what else can we do on pieces of paper besides, writing our names or a message so this is This is a way of sharing how we're doing, in larger groups, or when you don't have the time to ask more, when you don't have the time to say, tell me more. That is so, so needed in this moment. So I'm going to put it here. So those who have been working with me in the past years know that I trust you before you trust me. Know that when I'm working with educators, clergy, lay leaders, with whomever, with a family, I know that what they know what they need. I know that they have what they need. I just think that sometimes with the help of others, and in this case of mine, you might be able to take the dust over all the ideas that you've been burying down or under because of life, because we get busy, because, I don't know, things happen. So I'm coming and I stand or sit in front of you with that kavanah, with that intention. I'm not going to teach you anything. I might be able to remind you of what is important to you that might resonate also with me. So always, I want you to have, if you have a notebook with yours, somewhere where you're going to take notes, I want you to dedicate part of your pages to free associations, to thoughts that are free associations of what I am saying or what you're showing or you're doing. Why am I saying this? Because although this is a TASHLICH workshop, there might be things, and I'm sure there are things in this workshop that will help you in other workshops, for other workshops. Does this make sense? So if you allow yourself to have a thought, an insight, even if it doesn't match with the actual title of this workshop, make it relevant. Write it down. Write it down. Okay. We are contextualizing TASHLICH in the framework of the online life. Yes, we are putting TASHLICH in a scenario as if there was no way to be close to a body of water. And have you learned, did you have time to go into the meaning of TASHLICH? I sent you a link. I want to apologize. The email was sent 3 times. There was something on my website that wasn't set properly. This is the scenario. The good thing about this scenario is that it might not be the scenario we're going to be in by Rosh Hashanah. It might. Who knows? But because we don't know we were going to be in that scenario, there's something about this scenario that could add more creativity in the case we are able to be close to a body of water and with people, even if there's, more like social distancing. So I don't want to push us to think that what we are going to talk today, hopefully will not be discarded in the case of not being isolation in place. Yes? Because I feel that what this pandemic is showing us, that in many ways, what we've been saying and knowing and before, less is more. That with less clothing, we're okay. With less traveling, we're okay. With less, less outings, we could be okay. I don't know how much. But there's something about less is more that could be applied to this. And that's my focus, and that's where my energy will go with you today. As I said before, we have the chat, and I'll make stops during the workshop to hear from you. One thing we cannot control, and especially when we are online, is the result of our work. What we can control is the intention, is the kavanah. So what we need to really focus on and prepare on in times where I'm saying at the same time to procrastinate, if you watch the video of the webinar, is to look into the intention of the moment you want to bring to your communities. If you're not sure why you're going to be doing what you're going to be doing, don't do it. This is the time for brainstorming, for exploration. Not doing it doesn't mean not do it. It's really the work that we are going to immerse ourselves. So look into your intentions. Be very clear into your intention. Why do I want to do Tashlich with my communities? Why with kids? Why with families? Why not with grandparents and grandchildren? What if it's, just grown-ups by themselves? Even in the context of, a community of families. Like, really question yourself, because this is a time for questions, as Pesach is. Being attentive and paying attention is the most important resource we have. There's nothing more important than paying attention. Paying attention to the situation this is going to take place, the people you're going to be with. It's really important to paying attention. So I want to take a deep breath with you. And take a deep breath. If you could put both of your feet on the floor. Or if you're sitting, feel your tushy really held by the floor or by the chair. And before taking a deep breath, I want you to put your hands where you would like the breath to go. Because this is a breath of expansion, of creativity, of hope, of release. So I invite you to put your hands in a place in your body. It could be wherever. I'm not going to give you instructions. And close your eyes. And we're going to breathe together 3 times, or really at your own pace. You can close your eyes if you feel like. And if you can put a smile on your face that comes right there from where you want the breath to go, I invite you to find that smile. We breathe in and breathe out at your own tempo. You can open your eyes. So one of the first statements that I would like to share with you is, don't do anything online that you're not willing to do yourself. Don't jump, or don't ask your families to jump if you're not willing to jump with them. Don't ask your families to sing a song if you're not willing to sing with them. It's really important that what happens on this side of the screen is a mirror in a way to what happens on the other side of the screen. And I believe that that is very important to have in mind when you are designing the experience. Am I ready for this? Today, I have to give you an example that will show also my vulnerability. That is one of the things that I always highlight, as leaders. Yesterday, I stood up from the chair after being on the computer for a long time, and I got I got stuck. My back hurt like crazy, and I'm dealing with a little bit with that pain. And when I was preparing the room and the things, I was conscious of what I needed to be comfortable myself. Because you need to feel that you're entering the playground called TASHLICH with your families. So make sure that where you are and how you feel will help you be the best you can and the more engaged you can be. One other thing is a concept and then I'm going to jump into the actual tashlich. We're going to jump into the water. In the workshops that I've been doing in the past, I highlighted the difference between welcoming families or welcoming people and embracing people, embracing families. I'm going to make just tell you something. I'm not going to go into the whole workshop that I do about that difference. But basically, when you welcome somebody or a family or a group or whatever, you're welcoming them to your place. There is yours and there is theirs. Kind of the playpen mindset that we were talking last week, for those who were with me or before. When you embrace people, you embrace them in a common area. You both cross the bridge and you meet in the middle, somewhere there. So that is why I'm telling you, we're going to embrace these families. We're going to embrace these people. So we need to make sure that we are ready to cross the bridge with them. That I'm not here to tell you what to do, but we're doing it together. Yes? Can I have some kind of reaction or yes? You can always add something if it's brief, also not to, okay. So I want to talk about the creative process that I went through to design the workshop today. Because I don't want you to do what I am going to tell you what I suggest. You don't have to repeat it. You don't have to copy. You don't have to clone anything of what I'm saying. If we can understand the process the way that I'm processing the road, like, backwards design, when you understand the way, the path, the GPS, how the GPS took you to that point, then you have more freedom to do what it's true to you, okay? So the first thing that I look into is I am going to look at tashlich as a piece, as a Lego thing that I built, and I'm going to deconstruct it. I'm going to break it in pieces. I'm going to look into all those pieces, every piece of it, everything that might be highlighted. But I will need, in order to do that, a magnifier glass, because I can know about tashlich, but never go into tashlich, or never let tashlich go into me or through me. So this idea, let's embody that. I want you will have 25 seconds, okay? You have 25 seconds to build the tallest thing you can do with everything you have around you. Okay, so books, markers, whatever, without it falling down, okay? So 25 seconds, I start counting now. Try to find whatever you are in the room. Make it as tall as you can. Go. Keep going. 5 seconds. Freeze. Wow, freeze. Wonderful. Look at it. Look what you built. Okay, this is amazing. I wish I could take more screenshots. Okay, look what you built. I thought that, Shira, you brought something from the bathroom, to clean when I saw that thing. Okay, so that thing, that sculpture, that installation that you have in front of you, it's tashlich. Today, it's called tashlich. Okay, so in order to create on tashlich, and we're going to start taking the pieces out. You can leave it as it is. You can start deconstructing and say, okay. And I want you to use the chat for this. what are the main elements that you feel you see in the Tashlich ritual that you would like to look deeper into? So you can use the chat. For example, I would say water. What else? Community, letting go, bread, mistakes, bread, people, actions, letting go, birds and fish, throwing away, flow, sins, renewal, casting off, consequences. Yes, vulnerability, discernment. Yes, reflection, tshuva, forgiveness, purity. Wow, asking others, gathering to give strength outside, quiet, stillness. I would say nature. I would say bottom of the sea, clean, clean slate, life force, floating, tradition. Keep going, release, responsibility. Yes. So you see, you keep going, you keep going. Empty pockets, shedding. I would say, for example, shaking, to shake. You know, there's a tradition to shake. So the hems, let also the crumbs go. So shaking. Okay. What else? I see a USA. Lisa, what? Pockets, purifying. And let me unmute you. I see Lisa wanted to talk, but can you unmute yourself? I think I allowed people to unmute you.
Yeah. So when I when I was growing up, we would take the lint out of our pockets and shake them. I'd forgotten until you said shake, and shake out the stuff that you don't realize is there and get rid of it.
So what this means, thank you, Lisa, for sharing that. What this means is that this is not an intellectual ceremony only. This is really, really going into your guts. This is really a very much of an embodiment, an experience, that requires, I'm thinking even walking, marching, walking towards a place, right? That it's not, you're not doing it, maybe you could in the bathtub already if you can't go anywhere. Like you have to go there. You have to, so there's something about walking, returning, donuts. Yes, all of that. So what I do.
If I could just really quickly, the shaking keeps coming up, and I live in Southern California, and out here, just the whole notion of shaking has a whole different mindset. Shaking out here can be traumatic, it can be scary, it can leave you with a lot of questions, and I'm just thinking about how to recontextualize that in terms of the different types of shaking that we do, and when we're controlling the shaking, and how that empowers us.
I would like to know more about your process after the session, because I think that also contextualizing this in our communities, with our people, in our context, it's not just the online that is affecting us, it's everything, and we're working with them. So we give donuts holes for a sweet new year round. Delicious. Okay. So this is the first thing. Okay, I'm looking at this moment and I'm going to deconstruct it. So a big question is why? As I said before, why am I doing this? What is the goal? What is the desired goal? And thinking about backward design, where do I want to take people to? But in the feeling realm, in the experiential realm, because and this is part of my process, I remove the word teaching from an experience. If you are going to stay with me, and I saw a lot of people that signed up for the whole sessions, you're going to hear me repeat some things. When you want to create an experience, you can't teach. You can learn with them. You can experience something with them. The teaching could be before, might be able to be after. So we're not going to teach about Tashlich. You have to be able to prepare them for the event before, and we're going to go there. So the big question, why am I bringing the experience of Tashlich to my community? Why am I doing it even online? Why bother? We don't have water. Let's imagine we're in that scenario. We don't have, we don't have a river. I can't go anywhere. Why would I even think that Tashlich would be important in the context of an online? If I decided that it is important, that it is worth it to do it no matter what, there's something in it that can be distilled? Okay. I love you. I love you.
Distilled. Distilled.
Thank you. Distilled. Yeah, I know that there's something that can happen even without water, or the water that that we used to have. There's something that I want to tell you. I am hearing from people that are in touch with me regarding these practices a lot of nostalgia. People are already sad, thinking that they won't be able to do what they used to be doing, and a lot of sadness. Let's be aware of that when we program things, because that could be, a little bit coloring the experience without us knowing about that we're doing that. So if we're going to do Tashlich, and Tashlich is a moment, we're going to think a Tashlich as a family trip analogy. We're going to do a family trip analogy regarding Tashlich. Because when we plan a trip, we think, do I want to travel with my family? If yes, where could we go to? What do we need to prepare for the trip? Shall we only focus on getting there, or shall we be open to enjoy each moment that we spend together as we get to the destination? So the trip is called Tashlich. And if you know me, I love transitions. So the less that I care about is the destination. The less that I care about is what the families are going to be doing after the session with us, or they will do what they can do. While they're with me, they're going to be joining this trip. They're going to jump into the car, and we're going to look at every detail as if there were stations that we have no hurry to jump from one to the other. This is not a next trip. So we might not be able to do everything we have planned. And that is okay. The most important thing is that they immerse, that we all immerse in something meaningful that they can keep in their hearts. So the first thing is you have to learn about the ritual. Because if you're not going to do exactly what the ritual says, it has to be an informed decision. Okay? A lot of people that do things with kids think that they have to do things superficially. With kids, I don't know, sorry if I name something, I'm not trying to diminish anything, but people think that Rosh Hashanah for the kids are apples and honey only. And we think that if we cover the apples and honey, we cover the feeling of Rosh Hashanah. And that is not what I believe, kids need. Because don't forget that kids will be in the presence of their grown-ups in this context. These are intergenerational experiences. Second, highlight the aspects that you want to magnify, that you want to work on. Give life to each element Give life to each element you identify as important. They have to become characters in your story. Tashlich is a moment, but it is also a story. And if you're not musical and you don't like singing and you might not incorporate songs, it doesn't matter. Where can your story of Tashlich and the experience of Tashlich be held by? By a story, by an arts and crafts, by a movement. It doesn't matter. It's yours. You matter. They matter to you. So every element has to have the possibility to be transformed into a puppet, as an example. Water, bread, they all have to be able to come alive somehow. Any reactions to that? Any questions? Should I keep going? Yes? I'm here to help you. I'm not here to show off. So if you need to bring something up, please let me know. Max.
I'm thinking about or wondering about how, because I'm very intrigued, how do these elements come alive, and how do we make them come alive on both sides of the screen? So that's part of the wondering as well.
Yes. So we're going to jump into that. The first place that they become alive is in your heart. If you don't relate to water, if you're afraid of water, I'm just saying something, right? So if water is not the place or an element that you would like to play with, that you know that it doesn't call your attention and your imagination, put the water there. It's part of Tashlich, but the first place has to be here, whatever that is. And of course, as I'm here, I'm seeing there's songs about, I don't know of songs about Tashlich, but there's so many songs about water. We're gonna sing some. I'm looking at my notes because, okay. If Tashlich is a moment, there is a before and there is an after and there is a in the middle. So if we're going to enter in a story, we can't enter it cold. If you've been doing theater, if you've been doing anything, even dance, music, you need warm up, you need preparation, but not the preparation that is very much what I've been hearing a lot from educators and parents, that you're living this moment because of college, like you're this time, childhood is not as important, college is, so it's really highlighting where you are with the family at this moment. So let's talk about what I think I can give you more, I can share more about with you. Why am I saying this? There's so much on the internet for you to learn from. I have here Amy Meltzer, who is a friend of mine and a colleague, and she works at PJ Library, right? Am I? Yes? Okay. Suddenly you said I shouldn't assume anybody's jobs at this point. Okay. But I was in my search for, still there, good. So in my search for, creative things to do in times of pandemic and whatever, I encounter myself, there's a page, and I'm going to put the link in a few minutes because I have it somewhere else. There's resources for projects that are amazing. PJ Library has a whole thing about activities with no water. So, and they're YouTubes. Like, why would why would you join me today if there's so much on the internet? I'm asking, why did you join today if there's so much in the internet?
I can find something on the internet and I can figure out how to do it with what I already know, how I already do it. Or I can acknowledge there's a lot of resources out there, and that the approach and the intention, when paired with all the information, can help us all craft something new.
Thank you. So my focus was, what can I give these people when there's so much out there? When I'm learning as I prepare for you. So I want to focus today on the before, because you will be able to look into the resources that I will share with you, but I want to work with you on the concepts that will make the experience available when you are entering it with your families. Because talking about sin or sinning or sins or mistakes with the kids or in the presence of the kids could be very superficial. Even recognizing and say, oh, I'm sorry. That could be a way of, okay, this is the holiday of, of repentance and saying sorry and looking at our mistakes. But you know what? It's like as if something just passed by. It didn't come through us, right? It's concepts that we know we need to cover. Sometimes when I read the comments, I get a little bit off track. But Mary, you're saying this is more specific to the bigger idea? What is this? Mary Frank.
Well, you were speaking about, how there's so much on the internet that you can filter through, and these workshops feel more geared toward the bigger idea of these moments that ends up being translatable to other moments.
Thank you.
Being focused on one very specific thing. So,
thank you so much, Mary. So, I was thinking and feeling, and how can we use Elul, the month of Elul, again, as the playground to a bigger playground? As if, yesterday I heard that Sesame Street is the longest street in the world. Sesame Street is the longest. It goes everywhere. It doesn't stop unless you don't watch it. But the idea that Tashlich and each moment is bigger than the moment itself. It's much bigger. The before is as important as the moment itself. So I was thinking and feeling and working in the process and practical work that I do. How can I make a family go through this process and go into Tashlich with the feeling that they're really in a road trip, that this is theirs, it's not mine. So there are no shoulds. Families, you should, you shouldn't. No. This is what we're going to enter. This is the experience that I want to bring to us, to all of us. So I'll give you an example of what I thought you could do or you could offer your families. Tashlich has one of the components is the communal, it's the communal awareness. It's the awareness of our sins in a communal setting, right? So you have to have trust in your people, right? You have to be willing to share your mistakes. I know that they could be private too, but I would like to look into the family setting as a shared moment. As a shared moment. So one activity that I thought was to, and this has to be age appropriate, so I'm putting an age that this could be done, where family gets together. This is before Rosh Hashanah, somewhere in the Elul moment. Elul is the month before the month where the high holidays happen. And people, each member is going to share what the biggest mistakes they did, something that was really wrong for them. Really wrong for them. And the rest of the family, let's imagine they go one by one, the rest of the family will support the decision of this, for example, father that wants to work on his patience. So let's imagine you're the father and you say, patience, I have very little patience with you. I want to work on my patience. So the rest of the family decides to make a demonstration in the house, and we're talking about something that is very relevant in this moment in the US and all over the world, where they are going to support dad in being able to have the courage to throw his impatience away. So, for example, I did a sign, I'm going to change the character. So there is Julian, who is 4 years old and wants to take his tantrums away. Because, it feels bad in him. I don't like tantrums. Okay. So the whole family, creates signs encouraging Julian to throw his tantrums away when TASHLICH comes. So there is trust, and so they prepare the signs and go, Julian, you can throw your tantrums. We know you can do it. We will be there for you as you look at these things, and you can walk around the house in a peaceful demonstration, in a protest, knowing that there's hope in this, that you can encourage that member of your family, called Julian in this case, to do that, because he cannot do it alone. Lots of the mistakes that we do have to do with the environment. We cannot blame them, but they're part of this. The impatience. The impatience that parents are suffering in this moment when they became homeschooling parents. And, as we said last time, we're working with home. So the whole idea of supporting someone in their mistakes, knowing that they can do it, could be very uplifting. It's not just saying I'm sorry. Is I'm there with you with everything that is in you. Because you are more than your mistakes. You are more than your thoughts. You are more than your feelings. This is pure mindfulness. This is pure mindfulness. I'm not superficializing. I'm putting that word out. I'm making that. I want to go deep with the kids. I want to go deep with parents. So if we can't admit things and we cannot be supported by our families, eating better, eating healthier within a family that buys, fast food all the time, there's no way you can get better at that if you don't have your family's support. Does this make sense? So it's really putting the sins, the mistakes at something that collectively we're looking at. with love. Yes, Shira.
I love this so much, and I think this might even need a before moment. Like this is such a beautiful before moment for Tashlich, but I'm just thinking about how to lead families through this particular exchange. And it's really new for parents to be able to be that kind of vulnerable in front of their kids. Like kids are used to talking about their tantrums with their parents, for example. But for a parent to look their kid in the eye and say, I've lost my temper with you over this year, and I feel really bad about that. Like that's huge. So is there a conversation, like maybe having a pre-Tashlich get together on Zoom and then leading them through this thing, or some story that they can read together, or like how do we get to this before moment? What is the before moment for the before moment?
I love your questions always, Shira. Shira and I have been working for years together. I'm a little bit concerned about teaching about this
Mm-hmm.
to families.
It's also like, right, the other way about this is if we do too much, then it disempowers the parents to be able to lead their families through this. So that's why it's very delicate.
Like everything we do, because when you go into the experiential, when you go into mindfulness, when you open people's hearts, you're going into sensitive places, right? You're holding a space of vulnerability. So I'm thinking about your question, which is a great question, like all questions. I think that we can educate our families. As I said before, the holidays are a pretext for us to go deeper into the relationships that they are building, because I don't want to repeat myself. You watched maybe the webinar, but you know the holidays are tents, and empty tents are just tents. Buildings without people are just buildings. Houses without people are not homes. So if we're going to do family engagement, we need to go to the heart of the family, not to the performing of the family, but to the heart of the family. We can give them an opportunity to shift. And I think that this context of the pandemic has turned the spotlight very much inwards. It was the teacher who had to provide the knowledge, the religious school, the rabbis, everything had to come from the outside that they paid for, right? I'll take you to. Suddenly, whoops, the spotlight comes inward. So there should be a way, there could be a way to prepare them to go into this. I think that validating parents to be honest, it's something that we can prepare parents with, that maybe a conversations with parents only could be an amazing opportunity to encourage them to be vulnerable in the presence of their kids. Because I also think that yes, Gail, just one second, but because I think that in this moment that a lot of people are still in isolation, kids have seen their parents in ways they haven't seen them before. So I believe that the territory, the landscape, is very much ready for a step forward. Gail.
So thinking about Shira's question, because I was trying to formulate essentially the same question. So thank you for asking it, Shira. For these pre-moments in general then that we are trying to create for families before the moment itself, would the idea be that would an idea be perhaps as we send out information about this Tashlich moment that we're going to have, here are some suggestions of how we might prepare ourselves to be fully immersed when we come together, like just something like, and then essentially take these ideas of making signs and sharing and make it into a nice suggestion for folks in their preparations?
Yes. My concern is taking an experience into our minds, just taking it out and intellectualizing it. Okay, this is, the instructions, invitations are great, and I'm not saying that an email, a prep email wouldn't be helpful. What I don't want is to overwhelm parents with more.
I totally get that. Like I'm living that.
So I'm thinking that maybe a good workshop that we could do together is, and my writing is, I think in Spanish, English, I don't, but the intention is how to open parents up for their sake.
Right. I guess the question then is like, how do we put the idea out into the world for these families that there is preparation one could do before the moment that finds that balance between not creating more guilt about one more thing that needs to be done or can't be done, and without like over intellectualizing it. But if they don't even know that this is a possibility, like what are some ways that we might be able to put that out into the world?
Thank you, Gail. I think I understood. Let me respond to from where I think I understood. Carol, just give me a second. This is very important. I wouldn't call these things preparations for Tashlich, because it will sound like homework. Okay, now I have to do this in order to do that. One more thing. I think it's kind of what you said, Gail, like this shouldn't be. This could be, we're thinking about the loss of camp this summer. Okay, but the need for camp is still there. It's even more. Okay, why don't we look at these preparations of the preparations of the preparations for life, not for Tashlich, not for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Our guide, our roadmap, because we are Jewish leaders or educators working in Jewish organizations, that is kind of the path that we're choosing. But they could be moments for mothers and daughters, for fathers and sons, for a whole family, moments in itself that build up to open up our hearts to get to Rosh Hashanah, to Yom Kippur, in a more open way. I wouldn't call them preparation because I think it could sound as homework. I think I think I'm responding, Gail.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe I'm conflating a little bit with what I heard as a response to what Shira was saying, with the idea that this could. I guess, what are your thoughts on if we were to lead an activity like this in a Zoom format versus. Right, but then like if we do that in an Elul moment, let's just say, right, like that we're inviting families to join us for an Elul moment where we do this. If we're doing it online in that way, then is that taking away from the intimacy and the vulnerability that the families might be able to have in their home?
Great question. I wasn't thinking, and thank you for letting me clarify this. I wasn't thinking of being online in that moment.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying this. I was thinking this moment as a moment where they are preparing themselves for themselves.
So like a home Elul moment that we're giving, like, call it something like that.
Yes.
And okay. Thank you.
Yes.
That's very helpful.
Thank you, because I didn't think about that but I never thought of a Zoom there because, no, this is intimate. Yes, thank you, Gail, for clarifying that. Carol.
So what about sort of a modeling session? Whereas let's say during like we're doing Shabbat, and there's usually a time for a Torah or a story or a song or whatever. And that we do an interactive between, like, well, I work with Rabbi Gail Swedrow, hello, where we do an interaction with each other, almost like a modeling thing where we could use puppets even, or and talking about, you know, doing something, maybe it was wrong, and how I'm going to atone for that sin. But basically not teaching it, but modeling it.
I'm not, yes, Carol, you could do that. I'm concerned about the modeling. I'm a little bit concerned about the modeling because I want this to be true to the families themselves. But maybe there could be a session for parents to talk about vulnerability in these moments. Like bring the parents and grandparents, because also grandparents are dealing with a lot of vulnerability with, you know, there's so many scenarios. So maybe there could be a session to talk and to do an experience with parents by themselves about vulnerability. I'm just thinking, I have to think more through that. Thank you, Carol. Debbie.
I think that PJ Library has been so successful because it hands busy parents, and maybe parents who maybe weren't born or raised Jewish, hands-on ideas, things that they don't have to go search the internet for. What is Tashlich? And so I love how they put it out there. Parents can do it if they want, not. So I'm thinking of some kind of just something they get, maybe a pre-high holiday toolkit that here are suggestions of things your family could try before we get together. That way it's there if they want it, but I feel like if we don't give them, I mean, how do I get my ideas? I don't brainstorm everything I do. I search the internet. I talk to other people that they need resources. I don't want to tell them they have to do it, but I think giving them something as a toolkit could help them.
I think I agree with you, Debbie. Toolkits are really helpful, especially when you don't tell them the only thing that they can do with that toolkit. I think they're great. I think it is an amazing opportunity to talk about feelings with parents and how they're dealing with this. But you know your communities better. So I just don't want this to be something else. So why did I ask you to have a bag? Because the time is running and I haven't even sung with you. I asked you to have a bag, and if you have it, go get it. Go get your bag. So the whole idea for me, when I think about mistakes, when I think about getting off track, right? Getting off track. And as I said, we're not our mistakes. You know, you can lie. That doesn't mean you're a liar. There's so many things that you can do that doesn't say who you are, but they talk about a moment, you know? Is that when we cannot address them, when we cannot put them on the table, when we are not aware of those things, they are heavy on us. So to talk about sins as things that get heavy on us, this is something that you can do with families. Ask families, for example, to go find a bag and think that maybe last Rosh Hashanah, or at the end of Yom Kippur, your bag was light, you know, and I don't have it empty now with me because of my back, okay? So I'm just telling this. So imagine this is an empty bag, okay? And my bag was, you know, ready to be packed again because I knew that if I was going to be alive, I was going to make mistakes. So I have my bag with me. So another way of processing this is putting, as we name things that are mistakes that we did, to put things in the bag to make it heavier. Yes, so imagine you're putting whatever you have, stones, things from your desk, go to the kids' rooms and, you know, start putting all the stuffed animals, whatever they can bring you. Okay, guys, let's talk about the mistakes that we did as a family. Let's talk about the things that we could have done better as family. And let's name them. And let's start, putting them in the bag and see how it feels to carry them around, to not looking at them, but to carrying them around. So when you have something heavy with you, like a backpack, and it said like bricks, you carry the brick. So have an experience, and this you can do online. You can have all the families, on the screen, and you can really make it a three-dimensional thing. So they're not like looking at you, what you're doing. Okay, forget about the screen. Go get a bag. Now, go and get as many things that you can have around you. And let's start thinking about all the mistakes that we did as a family. Demonstrations that we might have not gotten to. Calls that we didn't do because you start putting stuff in the bag. And now we're going to carry it, but we're going to carry it together. Can you share the other things that you'll include? That you'll include in the bag? Is that the question? I'm not sure, but I will. Small shofar? Oh, what's that? The idea is not to put stuff that is part of a ritual, but part of something that makes it really heavy to carry it around, and then knowing that we will keep it until Tashlich, or until the end of Yom Kippur, that we will start taking it out, or in Tashlich, you decide when you're going to start taking it out and feeling it light again. So looking at places where you can put the notions that you're discussing with the kids and as family. You can even build the bag. Families could have, and I'm thinking as a toolkit that you could provide families, that they could create a bag and paint a bag and create the mistakes bag, the family mistakes bag, as an example of how they can own it, because this is all about allowing them to own the holidays. I'm not saying that what I'm saying is the only thing you can do, or it's the only way you can have families experience this, but I'm giving you ideas. As we are getting close, I'm seeing, okay, people are putting things. I want to rush a little bit. I want to sing with you a song. Is that okay? Okay, so let me see. I'm going to put in the chat. Oh, Carol is, I want to do it for everybody. How can I do that? Let me see. For everyone. Okay. Let me see if I can do this. No. I'm going to share the screen, and you will see the most beautiful child in the world. That is my grandson. Okay. I was going to put it on the, let me see if I can, hold on. Let me see if I can put it here so I can see you while we sing. So this is a song that I was envisioning in the transition as that we could sing when we go from one place to the other. If we happen to go to a body of water, the marching, the walking around the house, and I want to sing it with you. Can you see it on the chat, in the chat? Great. So it's a chant. And you will figure it out because you have to repeat a few sentences. So it goes like this. I walk in the Spirit, I walk in the light. I walk through the darkest hours of night, and I call on my ancestors to my left and my right to walk with me, to walk with me. I walk in the Spirit, I walk in the light. I walk in the service of doing what's right, and I call on my ancestors to my left and my right to walk with me. You know you can sing it, okay? Go. I walk in the spirit, I walk in the light. I walk with the knowledge that will be alright. And I call all my ancestors to my left and my right to walk with me, to walk with me. I want everybody to do motions as if you were walking. I walk in the spirit, I walk in the light. I walk for the water is life, and I call all my ancestors to my left and my right to walk with me, to walk with me. I walk in the spirit, I walk in the light. I cannot hear you. I walk with my neighbors to fight the good fight, and I call all my ancestors to my left and my right to walk with me, to walk with me together. I walk in the spirit, I walk in the light. I walk with the promise of healing in sight, and I call all my ancestors to my left and my right to walk with me, to walk with me. I walk in the spirit, I walk in the light. I walk for the children and the right to survive, and I call all my ancestors to my left and my right to walk with me. Let's sing the part of the water. I walk in the spirit, I walk in the light. I walk for the water is life, and I call all my ancestors to my left and my right to walk with me, to walk with me, to walk with me, to walk with us. So I'm going to ask each person at each time to unmute yourselves. You can unmute yourselves all together, but don't talk because I'm going to say your name and you're going to tell me who's your ancestor in your left and who's the ancestor in your right that you would like to be calling at that moment, okay? Or in this moment, okay? So unmute yourselves. Don't think much. Don't think much. Nobody's going to be offended that wasn't mentioned, okay? Are you all muted? Unmuted? Unmuted, everybody? Okay, Shira, you go. Left and right.
My Zadie and my Booby.
Beautiful. Marcelo. Okay, you're not muted. You're muted, I'm saying. Okay. Wait, don't worry. You'll get it. I get it. Hold on. Carol.
I was just going with Miriam and Ruth.
Beautiful. Daria.
Grandpa Bill and Grandma Shirley.
Marcelo.
Grandparents.
Beth. Lieber.
My Nana and my Grammy, my two grandmothers. On each side.
Debbie Lempert.
My grandmother on my maternal side and my grandfather on my paternal side.
Beautiful. Mariana.
My grandmother and my mother.
Beautiful. Rivka.
My mother and my father.
Beautiful. Max.
My mother and my two grandmothers.
Beautiful. Gail.
My Grammy and my Aunt Gladys.
Rebecca. Heimovich.
All four of my grandparents.
Thank you. Julie Levine.
My grandma Ruth and my grandpa Dave and my uncle Alan.
Beautiful. Amy.
Amy, my father and my uncle Sidney.
Thank you. Sheila.
My mom and my maternal grandmother.
Beautiful. Lisa.
My grandma Ruth also, and Noah Batzlofchad, who I named my daughter after.
Beautiful. Who's here? Everybody said it. Mary.
My grandmother Nancy and my friend Josh.
Julie. You said it, Julie?
Yes.
Yes, you did. Everybody said it? I think so. So Let's sing it one more time. It doesn't matter if we are going to overlap our voices and we're not in sync. Just the first verse with the water. I walk in the spirit, I walk in the light, I walk through the darkness, hours of night, and I call all my ancestors to my left and my right to walk with me, to walk with me. So when you think of a moment and you think of the before and after, you have to think about the transitions. You have to think, how do we get from one place to the other? What happens when we are traveling? What happens when we are arranging our bathroom for the bathtub to be decorated with water crayons? You know, how do we get to the bathroom? How do we get to the, how do you call the kiddie pool outside of in our Porsche? Are we just going or we're getting ready? And there are many things that you can do on Zoom simultaneously, but there's so many others that they can do by themselves that will bring the energy for the times that you will be together with them. Because I believe that sometimes being on Zoom, trying to do everything on Zoom, takes away, you know, like you're too much on the face of people and they feel intimidated. So it's something that I will talk next time. Let me tell you something because it's time for us to kind of, let me summarize a few things. I will be sending you links and you can post here links also for Mr. Rogers, you know, this whole thing of Mr. Rogers, guys, and the neighborhood. You know, families and homes can be amazing neighborhoods or horrible neighborhoods. Let's really help them to be the best neighborhood they can for their neighbors, their family members. I'll send you more information about this. There's the dance mime. I'm going to send you the link for mime, an Israeli dance that families can, you know, rehearse at home. You know, this whole TikTok thing. Maybe we can have a TikTok of the mime step, you know, and families trying it and just posting it. Like there could be so much interaction, and really knowing that they have so much to do and so much to give and have fun with this. So this is other ideas that I have. The next workshop is Yizkor Moment for Families. And although you might not be doing Yizkor with families in your practice, I would encourage you to be a part of it. Because in looking at what families can feel or can do as a ritual in the context of Yizkor and in the context of Yizkor and Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, sorry, Yizkor and Yom Kippur, the day of forgiveness, the combination of the two of them, I think it's very powerful and can inform you for things you can do with grown-ups only. Especially at times where, like the pandemic, where there was so much death and there is so much death, and the whole thing about dying has become more into the kids' faces. So if you trust me, I will encourage you to meet me and meet others during the Yizkor moment. Then on Yizkor, in that moment, I will be talking about how to engage the grown-ups specifically. How to make sure that the grown-ups understand that this is not a kids program that they are into. And I think I might be doing a workshop on that topic at the end of the whole series so that you can learn the language that I use to engage parents and best practices. Thank you. Thank you so much
Thank you, Karina. I love all your ideas. Thanks for sharing.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you.
To
Thank
be
you,
here
everyone.
with
So good to be with you.
you. It's good to
Thank you for the generosity.
Thank you for what?
Your generosity, just sharing everything that comes up to your mind and being so giving.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, Sheila, everybody. It's a
Thank
pleasure
you.
to have people to share these things with.
I'm glad you reminded us to free associate. I just started getting all these ideas and now they've got little boxes around them.
This is something that I would recommend. Turn off the Zoom and carve 10 minutes, at least 10 minutes, to write down, to put your head together and your heart together before you jump into the next thing. Do that. Do that because you are in this moment, maybe hopefully shaking with ideas. Write things down. Don't just go to the next. Thank you for being here.
Karina,
Bye.
thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.